Did you know that passive stretching could actually make you more prone to injuries? That's because it widens the gap between your usable and unusable ranges, increasing your injury risk the moment you apply force to your end ranges. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you exactly why passive stretching fails in some instances, and a simple scientifically based technique that I've personally used to help top executives quickly regain pain-free movement and rapidly unlock stiff shoulders in weeks, not months, if performed correctly. To start, let me review why your nervous system is holding back your stretching progress and exactly what you can do about it. Imagine your nervous system as a strict hiring manager conducting a job interview. This manager has one critical job, and that is to only hire candidates who are genuinely qualified for the position. So when you're trying to force your body into ranges you can't actively control, it's like the manager immediately rejecting your application right on the spot because you're not qualified for it. Passive stretching is like charming the HR manager with an impressive resume, but having zero actual job experience. Sure, you might temporarily impress the manager or even get a probationary period offered, but once your references get checked, that's where it starts to go downhill. So your nervous system, the hiring manager, will eventually deny you access to the new ranges that you temporarily gained. If you keep ignoring the nervous system's warnings, here's what can happen. Your movement restrictions will come back in the next day, even after stretching. You develop compensation patterns, and injuries can develop and sideline you for weeks or even months. So here's how to quickly determine if your nervous system is the real barrier holding you back. So to find the difference you have between your passive and your active range, you can get a broom or a mop that you have at home, place it onto the ground this way, and then you can find yourself in a tabletop position with your spine neutral. And then what you're going to do to find your active range is to lift your arm to the maximum range. And this is your active range. After that, you're going to grab onto the mop or the broom. And to find your passive range, you're going to sink your body lower to find a deeper stretch in your shoulder flexion. This will be your passive range. So if you have a big gap between your passive and your active range, that's an indication for you that you need to start increasing the active range of motion to catch up to the passive range of motion, because whatever you have in the passive range of motion, you can't control, and that will lead to a risk of injury. This is where passive stretching often falls short. You're trying to fake the qualifications to gain new range rather than genuinely trying to build strength to earn the trust of the nervous system. But how exactly do you earn that trust and unlock the full potential? Let me show you the language that your nervous system speaks fluently. Imagine you want to get hired for the job. Instead of faking the qualifications, perhaps you get an internship so you can slowly start to gain the experience and earn the trust of who you're working with. So this is exactly what we'll be doing when we use a technique called PAILs and rails. This is done by performing isometric muscle contractions at your end range. You're opening up channels of communication to your nervous system to start gaining some level of strength and control required. It is important to note that if we want to prioritize opening up range of motion, we would target the rotational muscle groups first because those are the deepest tissues connected to the capsule. I've covered this in a previous video, so feel free to click on the link above if you want to catch up after this. So to add more variety in this shoulder series, I'll be demonstrating on shoulder flexion to help you with your overhead mobility. For the PAILs and rails, we're going to be covering three main steps. Firstly, to start with a passive stretch for 2 minutes to allow us to be in that full range of motion that our shoulder can achieve, for us to be working in that position for the next 2 steps. So a few main things to take note when you're doing the passive stretch. Try to relax as best as possible. And while you're doing that, you're trying to search and load onto the best stretch that is required for your shoulder, and in this case, shoulder flexion. And once you reach the 2 minutes, we're going to move on to the second step, which is your PAILs. And that's working on your lengthened tissue. So in this case, it's going to be this side. And what I'll be doing is trying to push the mop down into the ground. And I'm going to do it gradually from a 10% level of effort and slowly increasing it up over time to about 50% for today. And if you're really experienced, you can go up to max effort. But if you're someone new to this or you have an injury, then I would say stick to the low intensity ranges first. Okay, we're going to perform this for about 30 to 60 seconds. And after you do that, on the third step, we're going to be doing a rails contraction, which will be on the opposite side, the antagonist side of the muscle group. So we'll be up here. We're going to try our best to lift up our arm It's not going to move if you're in your end range, but this is what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to do end range training over here and trying to build that neuromuscular connection in this end ranges to teach your nervous system that you want to build the strength here, you want to continue using the range here and start to improve the motor control. So for the rails contraction, you're going to do the same thing like you did with the PAILs. You're going to increase the intensity from 10% all the way up to your safest and greatest effort. And you're going to hold it there for 30 to 60 seconds. And when you're doing PAILs and rails, try your best to keep tension throughout the whole body so that you can start to recruit as much muscle fibers around the surrounding tissue that you want to train. Just imagine like you're doing a strength training for deadlift, for example, and you want to recruit as much and engage as much into your body so that you can get the maximum output. Do also take note that when you are placed in this position, you can also alter the orientation of your shoulder by having internal rotation and external rotation as well. So if you want, you can also use the sofa or the table, whichever is easier or comfortable for you to place your hand, and you can alter the orientation and do PAILs and rails in this orientation as well, so that you can train different lines of tissue and not just a single line of tissue all the time. One thing to take note is that for the second set onwards, you only need to passively stretch for at least 30 seconds, as the first set would have primed you to be able to go into a deeper range already. Two main things matter here: quality and intensity. By engaging the right muscle groups with strong muscle contractions, the more effectively you'll stimulate adaptation and unlock new ranges of motion. The magic here is simple. You're building the strength and slowly earning the trust of the nervous system so that you can start to acquire new range and also acquire it for a longer period of time. And eventually, you won't have to wake up the next few days feeling like you have not gained more control over your flexibility. Now let me show you exactly how you can incorporate this into your own training program. Many of my clients are surprised by how challenging PAILs and rails can be, and that's a great indication that they are stimulating adaptation for themselves efficiently, because you want to treat this as a strength training where the intensity and the quality matters, as I mentioned earlier. So as long as you don't have any pinching pain or any discomfort when you perform the PAILs and rails, then always try to push safely to your max effort. What separates effective PAILs and rails from ineffective attempts is the intensity and the duration of your effort. Think of it as a difference between completing a weekend course and a full degree which takes years. With proper intensity, aim for around 70 to 80% of your strongest possible muscle contraction. You're building lasting trust and earning usable range of motion. Here's how you can progress from beginner to advanced. Level 1 for beginners, or if you have an acute injury, start with gentle low-level muscle contractions held for about 30 to 60 seconds. This helps your tissues heal and establishes communication with your nervous system. Level 2, progress to longer, deeper passive stretches for around 2 minutes, followed by stronger muscle contractions lasting 30 to 60 seconds. This is where you'll begin to actively expand your range. Level 3, at this stage, you're presenting a complete portfolio of skills to your nervous system by using maximum effort contractions. You're proving to your nervous system that you're qualified for the new range. When programming your PAILs and rails, keep these key principles in mind. Progressive intensity builds trust. So start with manageable contractions and gradually increase intensity as your nervous system gains confidence in your abilities. Duration matters for adaptation. Just like how you can't cram for a degree overnight, tissue adaptation requires sustained effort over time. And lastly, recovery allows for integration. Your nervous system needs rest to process and accept your new usable range of motion, so don't rush this step. Here are some practical ways to integrate PAILs and rails into your routine. 2 to 3 times per week for maintaining and slowly progressing your mobility. You can even do it daily during the rehab phase or injury recovery process. Do take note that if you're doing it daily, it will be less intensity than compared to the 2 to 3 times per week and help to continue to establish the communication with your nervous system. You can even do it before physically demanding activities to prime your joints and nervous system for complex movements that require your improved mobility. A specific program to cater to your deficits, you're not just creating temporary adaptations, you're building neural adaptations that unlocks mobility that lasts. You now know how to communicate with your nervous system to gain new active range of motion that your passive stretching alone can't access. But here's the thing, without consistently strengthening these new ranges that you have acquired, you will eventually lose the access, unfortunately, if you don't maintain it. So you need to reinforce it with end range strength training. So watch this video here, where I'll be sharing with you how to maintain your newly acquired range and how to bulletproof your shoulder.